with the time being 6 p.m., I now call the Appointments Committee of Gardner City Council, what's today's date? I'm sorry. Wednesday, March 12th to order. The record should reflect that all members of the committee are present. Chair Heath, Chair Heglin, and Councilor Kaczynskis. Also present is the Mayor, Mayor Nicholson. Announcement of open meeting recordings. Is anyone recording today's meeting besides staff? No one's recording. Reading of minutes, prior meetings.
There's none.
Sorry, I just had to move it over. Yes, there is none. Motion? There is no motion. All right, interview of the following appointees. 11472, a measure confirming the mayor's appointment of Rob Oliver to the position of city engineer.
Good evening.
Report from the mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As you may have seen in the write-up I sent for the last meeting for Engineer Oliver, I'm very impressed with the work he's been doing for the city. This is his third year in this position for the city, but he's no stranger to that as he served for several years as the Assistant Director of Public Works for the city for quite some time. He's a local Gardner resident. He's brought a lot of expertise and helped out a lot with some updates that we've been looking at doing for the city, not only within the Water and Sewer Department, but also overseeing our GIS division for the city and the mappings that's been done, working with the Water and Sewer Departments, working on the properties that we've been selling to try to get those properties back on the tax rolls. And just generally with the different projects that's happening in the city. He overtook the bike path bridge over Route 140 for the city and has been working on that with the Mass Trails program. I don't think there's ever been a time that I've talked to Rob where I haven't had every answer to the questions that I've had answered, and then questions that I didn't even think of before I walked in, he already pre-answered, and I was like, oh, I should have thought of that before too. And he just comes in with the dedication to do his job the right way, and he just does it. He's dedicated to the community that he's not only lives in, but has served for several years. And I'm really happy to have him here with us and looking forward to continuing to work with him on the team.
Thank you. Rob, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. You know me as Robert Oliver. I go by Rob. Just to thank you, Mr. Mayor. To kind of on what the mayor's already said, I'm a resident of the city. I grew up in the area. My family's from the city. So when I came here as assistant DPW director, it was great. I loved it. But honestly, city engineer always had my name on it because that's what I wanted. Fortunately, the stars all aligned for me. I love my job. I love working for the city that I live in. I know some people wouldn't want to take that on, but I feel like I have deep roots here and it works to my advantage. So I couldn't be happier here, and hopefully the job I do is noticed and appreciated. I like to think that I'm helping the city, and I love that. So simply put, I love my job, and I hope to keep it for a long time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Kaczynskis, any questions?
I don't have any questions based off any of that. Obviously, this is, you've worked for the city for a long time. You do great work. I think, the proof is in the pudding, as they say. Any interactions that we have had, we always get thorough, timely responses. And, just with the time that I've been with the city in the capacity of a city councilor, I've really been super helpful, and, I appreciate the work that you've been doing. So I don't have any questions, but I just want to just kind of comment on the experience that you have, and I think it's really important to what we do here in the city, because Gardner is a small city, and that's no small task for an engineer in any city, town of any size. But I think it's, as you said, you live here, you definitely are part of the work that you do, as well as the people that you know, and I've worked with for a long time, so I think it shows, and I think you set a really, really high bar for the position, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor
Thank you.
Hagelin?
I'll definitely echo that. I've heard a lot of good things. I know my interactions have always been positive, so I appreciate that. I think just sort of maybe for the kind of public, is there anything you kind of say about your day-to-day projects you've been excited about to be with, just, you know, for everyone's edification?
Sure. I mean, my day-to-day, I deal a lot with the public. I enjoy those interactions, and I always try to answer questions as quickly as possible. I've dealt with a lot of municipalities in my own career, and that's not always the case, so I know how I would have liked to have been treated as a client to those municipalities, so I think I bring that to the table. I'm really excited about the rail trail project and the bridge. We had applied for and received Mass Trails funding for the 75% design, which is currently underway. We've, through my office, applied for the next round of funding to hopefully get that design finished up, which then kicks it into the state, hopefully get the plans done, get it out to bid, get it built. So I'm excited about that. I mean, I raised 3 kids in the city. We've ridden the bike trail. I mean, so we know it well. And to have it connect, you know, that side of 140 to downtown eventually is just, I think, huge for the city. So for me, that's huge. And I can't wait to see that come to fruition.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's it for me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I've had the pleasure of having multiple conversations with you. We walked a little bit of the bike trail together, me, you, and Dane, dealing with an issue, and you brought a lot of light to a lot of things to me that I had questions about. So I appreciate that. And the one thing, like where I'm from, we use the term keeping it real, and I always, when I talk about you, I always talk about how you keep it real. You know what I mean? Which is awesome. The question I have for you is, if you had no budget as a city engineer, what's one thing you would love to go ahead and go to in the city?
There's so much. Yeah, boy, if budget wasn't an option or a hindrance, I guess our infrastructure, just updating everything. I know through the DPW, they've been knocking away at water mains and infrastructure, stormwater. A lot could be done there, and there will be mandates in the future with EPA. So I think unlimited budget, we could do a lot to address stormwater. So, but there's tons of other things. I mean, the city could use so much. So. That would be wonderful. If you can make that happen, I'd love it.
Well, thank you. If I had no budget, I'd put a subway in. My son's about to get his license. I don't want to get the same roads as him. Things as such. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Good job. Thanks. The next appointee, 11485, a measure confirming the mayor's appointment of Corey Hasselman to the position of Veterans Bureau Agent.
Sorry.
Good afternoon.
Report from the mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry about that one. I have it. Director Hasselman has been in the role for a year now. This is one of the positions that is changing with the new ordinance change that was done through the administrative legislation in December of this past year. Prior to that change, the veterans agent was for a 1-year appointment, and then when that ordinance said that appointments for department heads are now 3-year appointments, that did change that for this position. So that's why you'll see a 3-year appointment in front of you. I'm really happy with the work Director Hasselman's been doing since Director Gabrilla left us to go to the state. His commitment to the city and its veterans population has been really outstanding. As a Gardner resident as well, as a veteran himself, and someone who just genuinely cares. I have seen people walk into the veterans office, and not just his office, but also the staff under his direction. It's rare that you'll see a veteran leave that office dissatisfied. Maybe not the answer that they'd want to hear at that time, but that doesn't mean they didn't know that there was some care behind getting the answer that they asked for, and they answer in a truthful, non-sugar-coated way, but in a way that also helps them find, this not have worked out here, but there's other resources for you out there, and this is where you should find it. Corey and his team have really done a tremendous job, not just for us in Gardner, but this is one of our few regional department heads that we have with Gardner. You're gonna have to help me out here. Ashburnham, Westminster.
Ashby, and Princeton.
And Princeton, thank you. And he does it well. His department's one of the only departments that we have that has minimum staffing levels set by state law. So overseeing the staff that he has, but also seeing the amount of clients that he has, which is the reason why that state law is in place, really is outstanding. And he also just cares about his fellow City Hall coworkers. He kind of walks around every now and then just to check in on people if it's been a day, and I don't think anyone's ever been dissatisfied seeing him around the city. So I'm happy to put him forward, happy to have him on the team, and really thankful for the work that he does.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Corey Houseman, currently the Director of Veteran Services for Wachusett District, City of Gardner included. Thank you, Mayor, very much for those remarks. Just like Mayor said, Rob mentioned during his presentation, I'm a resident here, I'm a veteran, so getting to care for both at the same time is just an unbelievable privilege that I have, right? Getting to care for my local residents who happen to be veterans, who have a fellow, a connection that I have, right? They walk in and we instantly, regardless of what what branch they served in, or any other deciding factors, we're instantly connecting and being able to provide them the services through Chapter 115, state assistance, VA benefits, whatever it happens to be. As the mayor mentioned, sometimes they might come in and their vision is one thing. I never tell a veteran no. I say, here's an option, right? Even if it's not what they had originally intended, we always find a resource for them. My team is tremendous, and I was just at Ashby Council on Aging today doing a presentation for their local veterans, and I think I said a really good thing. There was every veteran that I'm working with, when I'm working with that veteran, they are the only person that matters at that point in time, right? My schedule might say the appointment's an hour, but there is no other barring, factor except for that individual and making sure they're taken care of in their family.
Awesome.
Marie?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilor Hagan?
No questions this evening. Appreciate all your hard work. I don't think it's an easy role, but it's an important one, and for all your service before and in this role, just want to say thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Councilor Kaczynskis?
Thank you, Chair. Well, first, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And I just wanted the one question I do have is, can you just, and this is for the public watching as well, can you just talk a little bit about your staff, that you do have those staffing mandates? Can you just talk a little about who works for you and what they do in your office?
Certainly. So I have an assistant director, Nolan Buck. He actually is leaving on Friday. Friday's his last day. We already have a job posting up and have a few applicants, so we are starting interviewing process. If anyone watching is a veteran and would like to apply, feel free.
And is a requirement to be a veteran for that position?
Yes, for that position as the assistant director and as the director, it is a veteran requirement. And then we also have our financial administrators, Tab Adams. She handles most of the warrants and everything, making sure the veterans are paid on time on a monthly basis from Chapter 115.
Thank you. And then I just wanted to speak a little bit. I think you do a great job. You certainly had big shoes to fill when you stepped into the position, but that also goes along with good training and good learning, and that is on you to do that, and I think that you did that and really stepped up when it was the time to do it. Certainly a tribute to your service as a veteran as well. That's what you're trained to do, and you're still doing it. In terms of the regional piece, I think it's really important. It's honestly what we do here in Gardner, and we vote on that as a council to be able to do that with those different municipalities, but it's really important that we do a good job with that, because these are our neighbors, and they, no matter whether what the umbrella is, they know that's coming out of the city of Gardner, and so I really appreciate the work that you do to make us look good, quite honestly, because we want to be a good neighbor, and those regional programs are so incredibly important to those communities as well as the veterans who live in them. We wouldn't be able to offer that if we didn't have such a strong office here in Gardner. And I think it's, it's really a model for other cities and towns who might struggle with the same thing to say, hey, this is how we do it in Gardner and it works, because it really does. And we wouldn't be able to do that if we didn't have good leadership in the position that you hold. So I just wanted to say thank you for that, because I think that has worked out really well. Mr. Mayor, I'm sure that you could speak to that as well, but that's a decision that we have to make on the council. That's something that has to come forward to us, that we have to decide whether it's something that we want to take on, and I think that it's been proven that it's been taken on and it works out well, and it's something that wasn't done, previously.
Right.
So when you're out there in those other communities, you're representing your position, but also representing the city of Gardner, and I think that we feel very comfortable having you do that. So I want to say thank you for that, and
Thank
that's pretty much all I have.
Thank you. She definitely touched a lot of points that, in a different aspect that I was gonna go ahead and go with. However, she did bring up a good point about, he has some pretty big shoes to fill. And from what I see and from what I've heard, you're filling it. And, you should pat yourself on the back. The term that was told to me is that you're down to earth. And that's great to know that you're definitely reaching the people. No one has said anything bad to me as far as what you do, which is always a good thing. Everyone that has dealt with you has giving you praise. And, and some of these people had concern with the change of, administration and everything else. So, I just want to say thank you for everything that you do. But do you have any, mental health background?
So like as a clinician,
Yes.
I do not. I've done a lot of peer support. So that's where my kind of specialty from beforehand was. I created a nonprofit. Well, I helped create a nonprofit called Frost Call. Our sole focus for the last 6 years has been mental health and well-being for veterans. So that's always where my passion was. I served in many different roles, and that was where I found my true calling. Right, was making sure if someone's in a rough spot, after we talk, they're not. And I've done a lot of suicide prevention task force training. I work with Mike Ellis on the task force. I've done his mental health training, the QPR training, but from like a degree standpoint, no.
I get you. I don't have a degree in it either, and the reason why I asked is because the mayor spoke about the fact that sometimes you just go up and you go check on other people, see how they're doing, and everything else. That's what made me ask that question.
Thank you.
Because that's kind of like what I do. I'll randomly go check on people, see how they're doing, just to check on their mental health, things and such. So thank you for doing that as well.
Of course.
Thank you. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor resignations?
We do have a couple of resignations that are new and a couple of things that will be coming before the committee to fill recent resignations that we've talked about. As Director Hasselman just said, Assistant Director Nolan Buck from the Veteran Service Department has resigned. He's going to be the new Director of Veteran Services for Fitchburg State University. That's a new position that they created over at the university. So Director Hasselman's kind of trained him to replace him somewhere else. Which just means he's a good boss. So he'll be moving over there. Also, Megan Boudreau, who was the License Commission Clerk in the Health Department, has resigned as well to take a new position somewhere else. So she is leaving. Both positions are currently, the Assistant Director of Veteran Service position is posted. We're working with the Health Director right now on posting the license position when that's an appropriate time to do so, based on how he feels things should be moving forward with his department, because he's also reviewing the way that that department is structured and how the setup is currently functioning over there. Because now that he's been here for his full 3-year term, he's seen how it worked prior to him, and is now trying to see how if there's any efficiencies that can be made and things like that in the structure of that department. The Director of Public Health and the positions in the Health Department are the only position that's not appointed by the mayor. The mayor appoints, subject to council confirmation, the members of the Board of Health, and then it's the Board of Health who appoints the director subject to their board's confirmation. So the chair of the Board of Health makes the appointment and it's confirmed by the other members of the Board of Health. We do have some resignations that are being filled that have been there for some time. Susan Storm, local Gardner resident, is filling the vacancy created by the retirement of Christine Fusel as the new admin in the Department of Community Development and Planning. She started last week. Eric Babin, who used to work for the city in the health department as a food and housing inspector, is coming back as the food and housing inspector for the city, having come back to the city, filling the role that was recently made by the untimely passing of our previous housing inspector, Eddie Montgomery. And Ronnie Card is our new evening maintenance staff member here at City Hall, filling the vacancy created by the resignation of Thad Brown just about 6 months ago. So we're able to fill that position as well. There are some resignations being filled for past resignations that we've been having a hard time trying to get people for, that thankfully now we have people who have stepped up, and we're looking forward to filling those. In some boards and commissions where there was a need for quorum issues or something like that, I have filed 60-day appointments for those individuals, also filing their full appointment that'll come before this committee as well, when time is deemed, whenever the committee would like to do so. But because of quorum issues with those specific committees, we had to file those as a temporary 60-day just so they could meet to get some of the jobs and the work that was in front of them done. This was with the Conservation Commission. Nick Summerhays and Brian Hall have been temporarily appointed with a full appointment subject to council confirmation coming before us. Nick Summerhays did moved to the city about 3 years ago, was looking to get involved, has a background in conservation, and Brian Hall was the former chair of the Conservation Commission in the town of Athol. And Athol has a residency requirement for their boards and commissions, and he recently moved to Gardner. So he's looking to stay involved in conservation work. Came highly recommended by the members of the Athol administration, but also by several people here who knew him on the Gardner Conservation Commission. Emma Chayton appointment was filed for her for the Board of Health. Has worked in several different hospitals and healthcare fields, and recently moved to Gardner 3 years ago, so her appointment certificate was recently submitted. And Eric Flint, again, for the planning board to fill a vacancy there by the retirement of Bob Batez, who had been on the commission for quite some time. So those are all being filled. The Cultural Council also had 3 vacancies created by the resignations of Chris Singer, Rachel Taylor, and Cheryl Bossy. Those have 60-day appointments that are currently being filled by Veronica Patty, Katie Jablonski, and Jason Stevens. The reason for the internal group on that is that, one, there's a lot of munis reporting that has to be done for the Cultural Council so that the checks can be cut on time, but also, two, we're running up against a state timeline for the money to be allocated to the grant programs that are out there. So we're trying to do the 60-day on those, not for a long-term appointment, and they didn't have a 3-year appointment submitted with those, but just so we can get this year's done and get that money out the door so that we can help one of the local artists who receive funding from the Cultural Council, but also make sure that there's no issues with the state grant funding with the round being subject to the end of April, so we just have to get that process moving, so they'll temporarily fill that gap while we continue to look for people. We do have feelers out for the Cultural Council for the longer term commitments, in which case those 3 temporary appointments would be done at those times when we get the full-time appointees filled into those positions.
Mr. Mayor, how many members on the Cultural Council?
I think we can have up to 7. We have 5 for the minimum, up to 7.
And we typically have 5?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. The other members of the Cultural Council that are already appointed are Francie Lemire, who's a art teacher at the high school, and Kat Deal, who's involved in various other different organizations, most recently with the Gardner Farmers Market here in the city. We know that we have 3 police retirements coming up in the new fiscal year. So with the way that the police academies are set up, we had to post for those positions soon. Because we're likely not going to be able to get people into those academies now until probably the July or August timeframe with how quickly the police academies fill up across the state. So we do have those posted right now, as well as for 3 firefighters who are currently at the academy. So they'll get their appointment from Chief Lagoy once they graduate from the academy. And that's the personnel updates that we have that are happening. It's been a little busy since the last meeting, if you couldn't tell, but things are moving in a good direction at least.
I was gonna take notes, but that was a big list, but thank you so much for that update. That's a lot, no, appreciate it, seriously, that's great.
Good
Yeah.
thing the meeting's recorded.
That's
My notes were
right out of my mouth, right out of my head. I tried to start writing, and that's a lot. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Discussion of the appointees. All right. 11472, a measure confirming the mayor's appointment of Robert Oliver.
Granted, we had a write-up on this previously, and this was just a reschedule, and obviously hearing all the wonderful things leading to a motion, I move that we recommend to the full council confirming this appointment.
Second.
All right. Motion made by Councilor Hagelin, seconded by Councilor Kozinskis. All those in favor, say aye.
Quick point of order, just discussion first time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yep.
So motion made and seconded, and then you wanna have discussion.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. A motion made by Councilor Hagelin, seconded by Councilor Kozinskis to recommend the mayor's appointment. Is there any discussion?
I have no further discussion.
None. All right, cool. 114,
We have to vote, we gotta vote. So motion made and seconded.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have to vote.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion passes. A measure confirming the mayor's appointment of Corey Hasselman to a position of Veterans Agent, Veterans Bureau Agent.
If there be no objection, on 11-485, 11-492, 11-493, and 11-494, and leading to a motion, you know, wanna make sure, obviously respectful of everyone's time, really appreciate everyone coming out tonight, and I think I plan to support all of these. However, and I wouldn't expect anyone to have to come back, but I'm gonna move for more time. We did not get write-ups that we do require on these items, in time for our meeting, but we really didn't wanna go ahead and cancel the meeting. So with that, and it sort of being, I think, sort of being difficult to get those write-ups ahead of time, it is part of our process. We need those write-ups to have our information in order. I'm gonna move for more time, and hopefully we can reschedule these at a future time. But I certainly wouldn't expect, again, anyone to show up for that. They came tonight, we appreciate it, I wanna thank everyone, but I'm gonna make that motion for more time to reschedule.
Second.
Second. All right. So items 11485, 11492, 11493, and 11494. Making a motion for more time.
Yes.
If there's no objection,
I'm gonna, do we have discussion?
yeah.
So I just wanna say, I agree with the counselor, I think just for process and procedure, I think that we need to have those write-ups ahead of time. I also agree, I wouldn't expect someone to show up again to our next meeting, just because I also I plan to support these, but the process is important and having the information is important. So, to follow that best practice, I agree with the counselor, and I think we should do it for that reason. And we wanna have, I also am very respectful of everyone's time, and thank everyone for coming out tonight, but we have to have that provided to us ahead of time, to follow what we do. So I just wanted to throw that there, that I support this, and I also, expect to support these as well, but we have to follow our process and procedure. I think that's really important. Thank you. That is all
That is all?
for me.
All right. So with that being said, again, we'll go ahead and go with more time. So we'll put it on the next.
We can do a vote because you made a motion.
Okay. All right, like I said, items 11485, 11492, 11493, 11494, making a motion for more time from Hagelin, seconded by Councilor Kozinskis. All those say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. No time has passed. All right, and
I make a motion to adjourn?
Seconded.
you
I know,
beat me
it's
to it.
fast. I know.
Oh, man. All right, motion made by Councilor Kozinskis, seconded by Councilor Hagelin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
No. I mean, I'm not opposed. I just said no.
Motion passes, we stay adjourned.
I'm an aye.
Thank you.
for adjourn.